one most common reason for infertility amongst women today?
I am seeing a lot of women with poor ovarian reserve. Young girls, 28, 29, 30, having ovaries which are 40 and 45-year-old.
Oh, is it? Most unique case in ovarian health that you've seen so far in your 35 years of career?
I had this very young girl who had come with a poor ovarian reserve. We did her IVF, and believe me, she had only one embryo ready. Typically, a young girl of 28 would give me 10 to 15 embryos, and she gave only one. Do you believe 50% of the men actually contribute to the infertility?
Oh. Which was the latest technology in IVF which blew your mind?
We're going to have a lab on a chip. So while I'm sitting here, I will be sitting with my phone and monitoring my embryos. The other technology that has really will be fabulous is CRISPR. CRISPR is gene editing. Now, a woman has thalassemia. Now we prepare the embryos, and the embryos are defective. They have thalassemia. So then what we do is we throw them away. We discard them. With CRISPR, you will be able to take out the thalassemia gene and put in the normal gene.
Wow. Some of the worst side effects that you've seen in patients that undergo IVF.
IVF has become much safer today. The PCOS girls are very sensitive to these injections. So they produce 40-50 eggs at one go. Now that causes, it's known as hyperstimulation. So there's fluid in the tummy, fluid in your lungs and all those things.
A girl in her late 20s wants to get her eggs freezed. How should she go about the approach?
When she gets her period, on day 2 we start.
How many times do you try this same IVF cycle process until it gets succeeded? And when do you give up?
Okay.
This is our first podcast with a doctor. She is one of India's top IVF specialists, Dr. Nandita Palshetkar, who also happens to be the daughter of D.Y. Patil. In this episode, we go beyond medicine and talk about the latest technologies for solving infertility, and these technologies will actually blow your mind once you hear about them. Welcome Nandita to our show. You are our first doctor who we called as a guest on Radically Yours.
Oh wow, I'm so happy to be here, Radhika. I think it's wonderful that you've included doctors. I think we can really value add to your...
Of course you can.
To your purpose, I think.
Because our show for the longest time has been featured on business women leaders. Okay. And when we talk about their personal journeys, they always say that, we've gotten our babies through IVF because they've almost conceived after their late 30s or early 40s.
Yeah.
And I've always had this question that, if our show is focusing on women who are working, we might as well also get somebody to talk about this important issue that every woman faces through in their career journeys, which is like, how do they manage their biological clocks, which conflicts with, both their careers and their pregnancy
education
journey.
Also.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very excited that we have you here today, and I'm going to ask you everything which you charge money for otherwise.
No, but this is my passion. I love it. So you don't worry.
Okay.
I will just, you'll have to tell me stop.
Yeah, done. That's the best way. But for our audience, I'd just like if you can give us a short introduction on what your work is and what is it that you exactly do before we deep dive into the questions.
Yes, I'm Dr. Nandita Palshetkar. I'm an infertility specialist. So I've been practicing for the last 32 years and I do IVF. I've been, fortunate enough to bring in some of the technologies for the first time to this country in IVF, like laser, embryoscope, ovarian tissue freezing, lots of things. Then all technical stuff. Yeah. But anything and everything that has to do with babies, getting women pregnant. I think those technologies have really changed. The first baby was born in 1978 after thousands of attempts at trying to create that baby.
Oh, is it?
And today our success rate is 40-50%.
Wow.
I mean, it's really great.
Yeah.
So I do that basically. Of course, I am interested in policy making. So I've been the president of the All India OBGY, the All India Endoscopy, Laparoscopy Organization, All India IVF Organization, state and city. So I've been very active, been in a lot of government committees, for policy making for women.
Huh.
Right now we are talking about Save the Uterus. So there's so many things that I wear a cap of, multiple caps.
Yeah.
And right now I'm in the international body as a representative. So working on the global level also for women's health.
Okay, wow, so many things. Yeah, now I'm thinking कि क्या क्या पूछूं मैं इनमें से आपको. But let me start by asking you about fertility, because that's the most common issue that every woman across the world is facing in their late 20s and early 30s. So what do you think is that one most common reason for infertility amongst women today?
I am seeing a lot of women with poor ovarian reserve. When I began practice 30 years ago, that was not the case. I am seeing, I think 1/3 of my OPD is women who are older.
How old?
40 plus is old, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Not according to my standards. Not according to my standards.
As per the UN also, like 15 to 35 is the youth.
Yeah.
So I can imagine why you said 40.
Yeah, and also young girls, 28, 29, 30, having ovaries which are 40 and 45-year-old.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that is the biggest problem that we infertility specialists are facing today with women. And it's probably because of, pollution, contamination of the food that is there, then even stress and immunological issues we do see a lot. And nowadays, there are tests to pick it up. So we have more of an understanding as to what is going wrong.
So which is this test which makes you check your ovarian health? Like you said that
Yes.
some of the younger women in their 20s
Wow.
are having ovaries.
You are clued in.
Like, I'm shocked to know this, that they are having ovaries of a women who would be worth like 40 or 50.
Yeah,
so how do you check that?
So this is a simple blood test, serum AMH. It's been around for maybe 1 or 2 decades and not very popular because initially it was not that accurate. But believe me now, don't believe it, it is accurate and it should be done. In fact, I feel every girl should do it, and an ultrasound, sonography of the pelvis, which these are the two things which actually tell you how old the ovary is.
So if I could ask you, which is that most unique case in ovarian health that you've seen so far in your 35 years of career?
Oh wow. I had this very young girl who had come with the poor ovarian reserve, as we call it, and she was a doctor. See, now her poor ovarian health, we couldn't find any reason. Now there are genetic reasons also. If your mother's had an early menopause, like say in 35 to 40, then yeah, you could also have it, and that's because of genetics. So we ruled out genetic causes. There was no genetic cause, and this girl was a doctor and a young girl. She was working with me, they're in their late 20s when they work with me, and we did her IVF, and believe me, she had only one embryo ready. Normally, typically, a young girl of 28 would give me 10 to 15 embryos. And she gave only one. It was that bad, her ovarian reserve.
Yeah.
But her age was with her.
Huh.
And I just put in that one embryo, and she went home with a baby.
Okay.
And you won't believe it, 2 years later, she came back for a second child and went home with the second child. So you have to remember that age is quality.
Yeah.
And she really just brought home this fact that age is quality. Usually in young girls, what I do is I try to create a bank, say 5 to 8 babies in the embryo bank. Like how you have your American banks, etc., etc. We
Yeah.
have our embryo banks.
Okay,
And we have
what is
ATM
this?
cards for that also.
Okay, this is interesting. What is this concept of an embryo bank?
Okay, it's like egg banking actually, but
Ah.
we'll talk about it. Let's finish this part. So what we do is like an insurance policy, why do you take it? So that in case of any problems, you can, fall back on it. So embryo banking for those girls who have low AMH is like a insurance policy.
What's AMH?
Low AMH is low ovarian reserve, as we
Okay.
talked about.
Okay, yeah.
The test. So what we do is we keep these embryos. Say the girl wants to get pregnant after 5 years, but she has a low reserve. So we do IVF, create these embryos and put them aside in the bank.
Okay.
What does banking mean? We take the temperature down to minus 196 degrees centigrade.
Wow.
So that it just gets suspended, in life. And then when we bring them back to plus 37, which is your body temperature, they are capable of giving us a baby.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
This
a
is-
fascinating
When did
thing.
this technology come in?
In the late 80s, but in 2006, the technology changed and it became more efficient. And that was the technology that has given us fabulous results.
What did it change
So it
in?
was slow freezing. The temperature would drop gradually. There was a machine which would take it in stepwise.
Ha, ha, ha.
In 2006 came a technology 196, right? It's 37 degrees. The drop was minus 25,000 degrees centigrade per minute.
Oh God.
So within seconds, dump, it
Ah.
drops from 37 to minus
But
196.
does that affect
And
the quality of the embryo?
that does not damage the embryo. So if I use the older technology, say I froze 10 babies, I would get only 3 or 4. And if I freeze with the new technology, out of 10, I get 9 to 10 back.
Oh.
It was so efficient. In fact, I've got a wonderful story to tell you about that.
Tell us.
Egg banking is something which one of this, actually Diana Hayden, she talks about it, so I can mention her name. She approached me when she was in her early 30s. And she said, Nandita, I want to freeze my eggs because I haven't found my
Partner.
soulmate.
Acha, soulmate.
Soulmate.
That's too
She's-
much of a demand.
Yeah. So I looked at her and I said, yeah. And we did this vitrification. This was in December of, I think, 2007. And, we froze her eggs and everything. She came to me after the age of 40. She had endometriosis, so we had to do IVF. Usually I allow the girls to get pregnant on their own if they've frozen the eggs. But because she had problem and she needed IVF, she came and she took back 3 children.
Oh.
She's got 3 children from those eggs which she froze
Back
and,
in 2007.
8 years, 10 years ago probably.
So like how long do these embryos last for?
As long as I maintain the temperature, they can last.
Like forever?
Yeah.
Oh.
And let me tell you another patient who was a big fashion designer. She came to me in October of 2007.
Huh.
That time I had the old technology. And and she was postponing it for so long, and she said, this is the only time I have. So we just did it. She got 1 baby out of 12 embryos. One
Oh.
baby only.
And then how do you decide which embryo will turn into a baby or no? How do you know that?
I cannot decide that. My technology helped me today. We've got
Yeah.
artificial intelligence. We've got a lot of, techniques with which we can make out that, okay, this embryo has a good potential.
Okay.
We can't predict 100%.
Yeah. of
Then I
course.
would be God, yeah. My temples would be everywhere.
Yeah, you would then speak
You know
like
how it
Urvashi
is.
Rautela and say that
We make
yeah, my
temples for
temple.
actors.
Yeah, exactly. But
So, the technology difference I'm trying to tell
Yeah.
you. This woman could get only 1 child because of the older technology. This girl had got 3 children,
yeah.
and
But did she want 3 children?
she wanted more children,
Okay.
but by then it was, older and all those things happen. Things happen in life.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
True. But you touched upon a very nice topic of technology, new technology in conceiving. So, can you mention which were some of the older technologies used and which are some of the newer technologies used in fertility? Right now, you mentioned one, which are the others?
So, you know what? There is no old and new.
Huh.
It's just an upgradation,
Reinventing.
addition, accessory.
Yeah.
So, we have IVF. You know what is IVF? Is creation of the baby outside the body. So, we take your eggs, we take your sperms, and we create the baby in the laboratory. This baby is called the embryo. So, we can grow it outside for 5 days. Now, of course, research is on for 15 days, and you never know, we'll be able to grow it outside for 9 months. The next time we have a podcast interview.
The artificial womb is a thing.
Is a thing, is a thing. So anyway, so right now we can grow it outside for 5 days. So then after that 5 days, we pick up this embryo and put it into the uterus, because there it has to grow for 9 months. So that is how IVF is done. Eggs are taken in, and eggs are taken in, you know, it's a small procedure called ovum pickup. We give you anesthesia, so you're not aware of it at all. And we go through the vagina with a needle.
Okay.
You know how you collect blood?
Yeah.
That way that needle goes into the ovary and collects the eggs.
Okay.
Okay? And there's no cut, there's no stitch. It's a simple process. And then after that, you know, the work begins in the laboratory. So IVF is that process.
Yeah.
Now, what happened with IVF was in 1978, the first baby, Louis Brown. So Louisa Brown was born. Then after that, they realized that IVF could not bypass the male factor.
As in?
You know, the men also have a problem.
Yeah.
Because of the problems in the men, you don't get a baby.
Correct.
See, getting a baby is man and woman.
Yeah, two-way street. Yeah.
So when any patient comes to me, I always like that the husband and wife are there together, because we investigate them together to find out what is the problem. Do you believe 50% of the men actually contribute to the infertility?
Yeah.
In
that's
infertile
like-
patients. So it's really something very this. So the severe cases of male infertility, like, you know, those who had a sperm count of 2-3 million, could not be helped with IVF.
Oh.
So then came the new technology of ICSI, where one sperm is actually picked up and injected into the egg.
Okay.
And this was in 1992, the first baby was born, and it changed the face of infertility.
Okay.
Because now, literally, anybody and everybody could have a child, which was their own genetics.
Right.
So I have this, I must tell you the example of this man. You know, he had 0 sperms. He had come from far away, up
Zero?
north. Zero sperms.
How does that happen?
It happens because of you're born with it, or you know, you get mumps in childhood, some kind of infection, some kind of a trauma to the testes. All that can result, and sometimes we really don't know what's the reason.
Got
So
it.
this man had 0 sperms. So we would go into his testes and remove the sperms. But of course, the sperms are of poor quality.
Yeah.
You know, so I did 3 attempts. They had failed. The 4th attempt, I was actually, they were coming from very far away in India only, but staying and doing all this. And then finally, the 5th attempt, I think, she conceived.
Huh.
And because it was the 5th attempt, we put in 3 babies.
Okay.
And she conceived triplets.
Oh.
And now she was living up north, where it would be impossible for the children to survive if they were born premature. But so much dedication this couple had that they shifted to Bombay at the 5th month.
Huh.
We took a stitch around the cervix to hold the babies in, because I told her to, make the babies to 2. She didn't want to do it.
Oh.
So she said, no, I want all 3 babies. Now, I've got 3 babies, I want all 3 babies. So then we literally put a stitch on her uterus, gave her rest and everything. She delivered in the 7th month, but being Bombay, being technologically there and fabulous NICU care, the 3 babies have gone back with the parents.
Really?
Yes,
And she
and they
delivered
were
like
1
3
kilo.
babies
They were
together.
good weight. My 400-gram babies also have gone, but this was 1 kilo each, because we gave her good food. See, taking care of the mother when she's pregnant is very important, because that reflects on the children.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that.
That's Quite an interesting story.
Yeah, so that is ICSI.
Yeah.
Then there are other, now today, in 2016, we had launched this incubator. First time we got it to India.
Where
In
did
fact,
you get it from?
I think this is from Sweden.
Huh.
So this incubator came in, and you have time lapse in your phone, right?
Yeah.
So we do time lapse of the embryos.
Okay.
So the minute the egg is injected, it's kept in this, and we get every 15 minutes a film showing the growth of the embryo.
Oh.
And we could then, grade them depending on the T1, T2 time taken from one cell to for 3 cell and stuff. It's very technical. So depending on that, we would grade the embryos. Today, I just launched my new one. I bought a new one. It's the Rolls Royce in my lab. Okay.
Okay.
And it has AI integrated in it. I don't have to sit and calculate. Within minutes, it will give a score to the embryos, everything, and do it. And we just, I was in Japan, invited for a talk. My student was also with me. He presented my data there, saying that the embryoscope really helps us get good pregnancy rates. So, all this it's fascinating. You have to come to my lab. It's like a spaceship. It's like a spaceship. Trust me.
We should have done the interview there only.
Yeah. All this, like, no contamination. And you'd have to be in scrubs, not looking beautiful and glamorous like this.
But this embryoscopy, so it like gives
Embryoscope.
Yeah, embryoscope. It gives you like a.
It's a time lapse incubator.
Okay.
So it gives me a film.
Oh. Nice. And you said you got it from Sweden, this technology. So how do you source new technology from international parts of the
They
world?
come and source us because they know that these guys are very good. So any new technology that comes, actually the vendor reaches me.
Okay.
And plus, we do a lot of reading. I do a lot of reading. I love my field. I'm very passionate about studying.
Yeah.
And, in fact, my son, when he was younger, he used to tell me, Mom, you are studying even at this age. I don't want to become a doctor. And eventually he's become an IVF specialist. But that's a different story, I have to tell you. But, even conferences, I attend 2 conferences every year religiously.
Yeah.
One in America, which is the American Society, and one in Europe, which is the European Society. And over there are a lot of new technologies, which are showcased in the exhibition halls and all. So that's where we spend a lot of time over there and go through and then pick up.
So, like, which was the latest technology in IVF that you came across which blew your mind?
Which blew my mind? I was attending this lecture, and there is this new technology which is not yet launched. They're studying it to see whether it is safe for the embryos. See, any technology that comes in has to be safe because we're creating life. So you can't just use this laser and that laser and it has to be that no effect on that baby once the child grows up. So I was attending this lecture, and he was talking about a lab on a chip. We're going to have a lab on a chip. So while I'm sitting here, I will be sitting with my phone and monitoring my embryos.
Oh.
It's going to get so automated and so digitalized. And he showed this one technology. Embryo is made of many cells, and the chromosomes, how do the cells divide? The chromosomes have to divide equally so that they go into 2 cells.
Correct.
Otherwise, you'll have problems. So that technology actually showed the chromosomes separating, dividing into 2. Oh, it was fascinating.
wow.
I'm waiting for that technology to be released, and I will definitely pick it up.
Yeah, you must. And this was where? Where did you spot this?
On the webinar.
Okay.
They are doing studies, I think, in Japan, in Europe, in America. It is a matter of race, who comes first. The other technology that will be fabulous is CRISPR.
What's that?
CRISPR is gene editing. You do film editing, right? So gene editing is known as CRISPR. And Doudna and Charpentier are 2 women who won the Nobel Prize in 23 for this technology.
Oh, wow. And what is gene editing?
So supposing now a woman has thalassemia, and she wants to have a child.
Huh.
Now we prepare the embryos, and the embryos are defective. They have thalassemia. So then what we do is we throw them away. We discard them.
Okay.
With CRISPR, you will be able to take out the thalassemia gene and put in the normal gene.
How but?
It's a technology. It's a viruses. It's known as the DNA scissors.
Oh.
Also, it's a very fascinating thing.
So right now it's just an idea on paper?
No, it is being used in animal husbandry. It's being used in plants, and in China, 2 babies were actually born, but that Dr. He is being put in jail because it's not yet, the safety issues have to be studied before they can open it up.
Yeah.
Then there's another technology called genetic testing, where you can actually pick out embryos which have the least chance of cancer, which are the intelligent embryos.
Oh.
It's known as PGTP,
What's the full form?
polygenic, pre-implantation genetic testing, polygenic. It's crazy.
God.
It's crazy.
It just is
I mean,
so
I don't know
good.
that movie, which was, they were showing people in pods, and Tom Cruise ka tha kya? Brad Pitt ka tha? I don't remember.
Huh. So you
It's
think
going to
this,
become a reality,
yeah?
trust me.
You think this artificial wombs will become a reality soon?
See, I'll tell you what. In Sweden itself, the lamb is grown outside after a certain stage. There's a bag.
Huh.
And the lamb actually grows outside if it's born premature. So we've now, like I told you, my babies went back. So 20-week baby they're managing to save in Sweden. In India, we're up to 22, 23, 24 weeks. That's 6 months old child. So if we've reached 20 and we've reached 15 days here, it's just a matter of filling the gap of these,
Yeah.
and it'll happen.
Wow.
So you will not need obstetricians like me. You'll need biotechnologists or the computer guys. They
Yeah.
will say, okay, this much protein, this much sugar, this much carbs, so many amino acids. We'll give this bolus to the baby.
So then we'll have all the intelligent, healthy kids growing up then.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Oh my God.
it's crazy.
Yeah. When do you think this will come into fruition?
Forget it. There's still time.
Yeah. Will we be alive by then?
I don't think I will be alive for sure, but you definitely will be.
Okay. But I also want to touch upon, like you said, that 50% of infertility cases is also because of the
Men.
Yeah, because of men. So, what is that most common cause for infertility in men?
Actually, you know what? Lifestyle also. Smoking. Smoking both in men and women is bad. In women, it deteriorates the ovary. In men, the testicular function gets deteriorated. Then infections, then even thyroid, prolactin, these disorders can cause. So, in men, there are multiple causes, but also there is a huge chunk of people where we don't find any cause. Why their sperm count is less.
Then?
Then nothing. Then ICSI, I told you that advanced test tube baby, which is known as ICSI, where we inject the sperm, that is what we use. And it gives fabulous results.
Yeah. But what do you think can be the reason, like if none of the reasons are working out, why is it God's plan?
Must be something which we've not actually discovered yet, the test. You know something, before 1957, men were never blamed. 50s.
Yeah.
The first semen count was done in the 50s.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we classified ki baba, men also have a problem. So that's why the research in men's infertility is a little lagging, because women have been investigated from the 1800s.
Yeah, true.
So
But
some advantage.
matlab, aaj bhi people think it's the women's fault only, unfortunately.
Totally.
But how do you think this stigma can be overcome? Like, how can we spread more awareness about this, that it can also be an issue on the male side?
I think in the cities it's pretty much now, I get couples who come together. But I think the more we talk about it, the more we spread knowledge, via different medias. You can have, like as we are talking digital media, you can have print media. We do a lot of CMEs. So, couples who come to us, we always tell them, okay, please get your husband and do the testing. Initially, the woman used to be brought by her mother, mother-in-law. Today, husband and wife come together. So, that has changed. I can see this gradual change over the last 30 years. But I think it's very nice.
Have you done any rural campaigns also on IVF?
Something, I was the IVF president, as I told you. So in that, what we did was, we did go out to tier C cities and lower to talk about it and, give lectures over it and all. And you won't believe it, in Maharashtra, even the rural places have an IVF center. I mean, Maharashtra is really, really
It's developed.
progress. And, if you look at America and all, they have, not America, let's look at UK and all, they may be having, I don't know what, 1,000, 2,000 centers. We have 5,000 centers in our country. But then our population is huge, our land mass is huge. And that's my dream, that every district should have an IVF center and it should be affordable.
Yeah. But, when you say affordable, what's the cost of IVF treatment in today's time?
IVF can vary from 1 lakh to 3 lakhs. It all depends on what you need, and depending on that, the cost change. But let me tell you something, like we do a lot of charity work. There are a lot of budget centers which we are doing at a very low cost. As I said, when I was the president, we had this scheme going on that 10 free IVFs. Each unit does 1 free IVF per month. All of us members do 1 free IVF per month. So that kind of a thing, and there's a lot of philanthropy in our country. A lot of things are being done. And now Modi ji has announced, through the National Medical Commission, that if you have a medical college and if you're doing post-graduation, you have to have an IVF center. So in fact, in December, I was at Amravati to inaugurate the center in the medical college.
Okay, nice.
Because it's something and the medical colleges are funded. So we have in DY Patil Medical Center, so we do help out a lot of patients and stuff like that.
Got it. But like you said, that depending on what the treatment is, the cost ranges. So can you give us a breakdown of different kind of treatments in IVF and the cost?
So it's costs and IVF, it will be difficult because it's very individual. But yeah, you have IVF, you have ICSI, then you have freezing, then you have, laser hatching, you have IMSI. There are too many technologies that are there. And some of the technologies we don't even charge for. Some of the technologies, because like for AI, we pay per image that we upload. So, those things are expensive, but that's okay. That's part and parcel of.
Yeah. But the technologies that you mentioned, can you also mention the average costing of it?
No, it's not more than 10, 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how. So, it can really vary.
Got it. And, how does an IVF cycle really look like? Because a lot of our audience is also very
supposing a couple comes to me, I get them to do all the investigations, the tests, and then we start an IVF. So on day 2 of a period, we would start the injections. Injections are taken typically for 10 days. Then they take a trigger, it's known as a trigger, which causes the eggs to mature. And then on the 12th day, we go in and do the ovum pickup. And once that is done on the 12th day, by 13th or 14th day, she's absolutely fine and goes back to work. So it's like a 15-day cycle.
And that's it.
Yeah. And then, of course, when we want to put the baby back, we call them back, or we can put it in at that time. And after 15 days, you do a blood test and you find out whether you're pregnant or not.
And what's the success rate for this being?
See, in younger patients, it's 50% plus to 60%. But in older patients, it's anything between 30 to 50%, depending on the age of the woman, the ovarian reserve of the woman.
And how many times do you try this same IVF cycle process until it gets succeeded? And when do you give up?
Okay. See, now, I think that's very individual. Typically, our research shows that within 4 attempts of a good patient, that is a young patient, good ovarian reserve, male fertility, the sperm count is not so bad. In 4 attempts, 90% of the patients actually take home a baby.
Okay.
But in poor prognosis patients, 60% take home at the end of 6 cycles. But we have patients who've come and maybe 10 cycle, 11 cycle, they go everywhere and they take home a baby. I feel that the point is sticking to the treatment. I had one patient who came to me 27th IVF cycle. The first IVF cycle I had given her a baby, not with me. And so she kept going, to that same person. And then the last time she could not go. She had complete faith in the person, obviously. And she landed up in my clinic. So I did it and I gave her a baby. So she says, Doc, what are you doing here? You should be in Harvard Street, in what is that, Harley Street. But yeah.
What did you do different?
I'm good. I'm better than most.
What do you think, like, why do some of the
I don't want to comment on that. I think it's a very collective thing. Of course, it's your knowledge, it's my wisdom of 30 years and my empathy. I think, mental health is also very important. Connecting with the patient, getting them to understand that you're working for them, you're working with them. That is very important. And the technology, the lab, the technology is like, even before it was made compulsory, we had air purifiers. It's a big system, which is, air handling unit, we call them in our but we had them before they were made compulsory. So we've been very, you have to understand it and see, because you're creating life. You cannot have somebody's put a perfume and come in. It's a different thing. You don't have perfume inside your uterus.
Yeah.
Or there's a tar work going on. I remember in New York there was an article actually, because they were tarring the road outside, this results went down.
Which results?
The IVF results in that IVF center.
Oh my God.
Because they were putting tar outside. So this pollution is also, so that's why the air handling units come in and remove all this. So we have VOCs which are removed, we have this removed, that removed. So they're all.
That makes a difference.
Yeah. They're all under positive pressure, all these labs.
Yeah, positive pressure, I like how you call it. But what is the ideal age bracket for a female to naturally conceive? Is there any?
I feel before 28, please have your first baby. I don't know whether many people will like it.
But that's the reality, no? Whether we like it or no.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the biological clock and you have to.
And
you can put a pause on it by doing egg freezing.
Yeah, correct. We'll come to that in a bit. But you see most of the IVF cases after 30 in your clinic?
No, not at all.
You see it
in
much
fact,
early?
in India, 21 is the cutoff age. But if a person has 0 sperms from birth, is he going to wait till he is 30? If he gets married early and within 2 years they don't have a child, they do come to the doctor. When we check them up, they need IVF.
Yeah.
So it's nothing like that. But most of the people, today's generation is getting married later.
Yeah.
Wanting to have children later. So we do see a lot of people 35 plus. In fact, last Saturday my OPD was only full of 40 plus. I'm saying, what is happening? I said, every patient who has walked in new was 40 plus.
Oh.
That's the reality of life today.
Yeah. But this, you think awareness on egg freezing is very less That's why they.
I
don't do
think
it?
so also. I really think so. But now, trust me, now every week I get at least four, five people who come for egg freezing.
Huh.
So it's increasing a lot. And believe me, I'd rather have them pregnant earlier.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, they are studying, they are career minded, they're not ready, they've not found out the partner. You know, today I think there's a lot of problems when finding partners.
Yeah.
So I think we should have centers which puts people together.
Actually,
You know,
yeah.
find your partner. Maybe it's something in AI will come too.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll solve for half of the problem.
I know.
But you might lose out on your business.
No, we'll do something else. Don't worry.
Yeah, but you know, before we come to egg freezing, I want to do like a quick Q&A on fertility and IVF.
Yeah.
Some of the common questions which people have generally asked on the internet, in my friend circle and otherwise, which I want to ask you now that we have you. So, you know, starting with this, that what's the worst food to have when you are trying to naturally conceive?
I think inflammatory foods like sugars and maida and all those, you know, processed foods, that should be avoided.
Fully.
I'm not saying fully, but at least as much as possible.
Okay. So, like, which are the top 3 natural remedies that you would recommend to boost fertility in females first?
Natural remedies.
Yeah, like homemade.
Can I tell you? Stop smoking, stop drinking,
Like
and stop doing drugs.
once a day, cigarette chalega?
No, cigarettes are a no.
Not at all.
Cigarettes are really bad for women's health. So what natural remedies can I give you?
कुछ घर का खाना.
घर का खाना तो I
Junk
told
food
you,
avoid.
no processed food, meaning खाना घर का ही होना चाहिए.
Like, are there any particular vegetables that boost fertility?
See, I'll tell you what, the Mediterranean diet is supposed to be good for fertility. Okay, research
Okay.
has shown. So what is the Mediterranean diet?
Chickpeas and all.
No, your plate should be full of colors.
Ha.
You know, beetroot, carrot, greens, chickpeas, whatever, lovely colors because they
Okay.
give you a lot of good antioxidants, they give you good stuff. Then proteins, vegetable proteins are supposed to be good, like moong, matki and all those type of things, you know. And lean proteins like chicken or egg white or turkey, you know. These are also supposed to be good. They are non-inflammatory.
Got it. And
So-
for men, what do you recommend?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
But men, only one more thing additional is that they should not be taking frequent steam saunas.
Oh, really? How does that affect?
Because the testes are outside the body for a reason.
Yeah.
They're hanging in that sac. So the temperature is about 2 degrees cooler than the body.
Yeah.
So you cannot, if you apply too much heat, the sperm production gets affected. So that's why, so then, you know, we tell them don't put laptops on your lap because heat is generated.
Yeah.
Then I tell them try and avoid two-wheelers, you know, motorcycles and all that. But of course, it's not that bad, motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking motorcycles.
No, heat.
is-
Heat is great.
Anything related to heat.
It's
Yeah.
heat related.
On electronics, I have a very interesting question. Does sleeping next to your phone, you know, affect your fertility in any way?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because it has a lot of radiations, no?
I know.
And people suggest that don't keep your phone
I
bazu
know.
mein.
For general health,
It's bad.
it's bad. All of us charge our phones next to our heads.
Yeah. But while sleeping,
Don't you?
no.
Good.
I keep it away. Every day. Cautiously.
Good girl.
Yeah. And what's the fastest treatment available in today's time for fertility?
See, now that is a very important question. You've said it very casually. But time to pregnancy is actually a factor that in all our research papers and all, ki the faster the time to pregnancy, less is the mental repercussions on the patient.
Huh.
So yes, of course, IVF test tube baby would be the fastest. But we have simpler treatments, like supposing I treat you with medications, you know, like PCOS patients. They don't produce eggs. So I just give medicines to produce eggs and tell them to have sex. So the natural conception rate is anywhere between 8 to 15%.
Okay.
Then we combine it with an IUI. IUI is where I'll take the semen, sperms को खाना पीना खिला के एकदम fast कर देते हैं, उसको उठा के we put it in the uterus.
Okay.
And we time it at that time where the egg is going to rupture. That success rate is around 20-25%.
Got it.
And then IVF is 50 to 60% depending on the age. So IVF is the fastest treatment actually. The time to pregnancy is really important.
Yeah. And you also spoke about, you know, PCOS patients. You know, a lot of women are facing that issue these days.
I know.
So for women undergoing PCOS, what do you suggest them to do in their daily life routine? So as to, you know, like, so that they don't have to go through these fertility issues.
I think PCOS is best controlled by lifestyle modification. But that's very easy to talk and difficult to follow. So what are these lifestyle? Exercise 100 to 150 minutes per week. You know, mild exercise, moderate exercise 90 minutes per week. Then diet, lean proteins, low glycemic index foods, lots of vegetables, fluid and fiber. You know, fiber in your body is really good. Okay, that. Then mental health, very important. You know, you have to be, you know, you have to do meditation or something which calms you down. Mental health is very, very important. And one more pillar is sleep. You know, sleep, when you sleep for 8 hours, your body regenerates. It gives the cell a chance to you know, to charge themselves and regenerate. So sleep is also very, very important.
8 hours is what you recommend?
No, anything from 6 to 8 hours.
Okay, got it. But people who try to sleep for lesser, will that like...
I have seen people who try to sleep for lesser and they're doing very well. But yeah, I have a lot of colleagues of mine who are insomniacs. They sleep for just 3-4 hours a day. I don't know in the long run what effect it will have on their body, but that is what the research has shown.
Yeah.
And I'm like a Kumbhakarna. I love to sleep.
Yeah, so do I. We have a sleeping pod in the office, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm the person who uses it the most. So that's what we do. And I also want to ask you as to, you know, a lot of Western culture has been infused into our Indian tradition these days, and polygamy is becoming very common. So for women who have multiple partners, does that affect their success rate of conceiving?
I think what is happening is because of polygamy, there are unwanted pregnancies. And then you'll end up aborting them, or you'll end up terminating them. And most of the time, nothing happens. Once in a while, infection sets in and your tubes get blocked.
Yeah.
And it's very traumatic later on, you know, like, I mean, forget the polygamous is different. But sometimes, you know, a couple is conceived naturally and they don't want the baby because at that point they're not ready for it. And then they'll end up with me for infertility. Then it is a guilt which is like very difficult to take away. You know, it's always playing in the mind. What if?
Yeah.
What if? You know, so it's, I think it's a decision which should not be taken lightly. That is one. So, unwanted pregnancy is one. Second is infections. You know, you just briefly touched about cervical cancers, but I think there is a vaccine today which young girls should be given for the cancers, and it needs to be taken. You can probably do another podcast on, you know, just that to talk about the vaccine because it's preventive. This cancer can be prevented and it's the biggest killer in our country. It's crazy.
What's this thing?
It is caused because of HPV virus, 80% of that. So if you take a vaccine, it prevents you from getting HPV virus infection and prevents you from getting cancer.
Like, it's very common now. Every second person is getting it, is it?
No, I mean not every second person, but it's pretty high.
Got it.
Because of this polygamous relationships also, no? The infection rate is much higher.
True. True. And how does the birth control pills or other measures that young girls take, how does
Birth
that
control is
affect?
fine. There's no problem. It does not have
It doesn't
any
have a side
permanent
effect?
effect on infertility. As long as you're taking it, you cannot conceive.
Yeah, of course.
I was wondering when the coin will drop.
Yeah. I also want to ask you, since you've dealt with so many patients in different situations, I wanted to touch upon some of the worst side effects that you've seen in patients that undergo IVF.
Okay, IVF has become much, much safer today. But I remember when I originally started, when the PCOS girls are very sensitive to these injections. So they produce 40, 50 eggs at one go.
Okay.
Now that causes, it's known as hyperstimulation. So, there's fluid in the tummy, fluid in your lungs and all those things. So I have seen a couple of patients like that. But now there is a new product which has come which completely eliminates the OHSS from practice. And all of us are so happy about it. And trust
What
me.
does it eliminate?
This is a trigger. It's
Okay.
too technical, that's why I didn't mention.
Ah.
It's a different trigger which you use, GnRH analog.
Okay.
It's an injection, but it prevents this
Fluid.
fluid from, it prevents hyperstimulation, ovarian hyperstimulation. The second complication that happens is not getting eggs. The very poor ovaries. That AMH, if it's very, very low and we give lots of injections and still no eggs, that is devastating to the girls because then they have to
Yeah.
go for an egg donor.
Correct. And how many such cases do you see?
I told you 30% of my practice is low ovarian reserve. So yes, some of them do need, the older ones especially, 45-year-old or plus, they do need egg donation.
But that's like the worst thing that has happened. And in terms of, egg donation, how can somebody go about finding a donor, or you do that job for them?
No, our country that way, I must say, Narendra Modi, we were waiting for this law to come for 10, not 15 years. It got launched in 2022. He is very...
What is it? Sorry, I'm not
it's a law, ART
Okay.
law.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's become very streamlined.
Huh.
There is an entity called ART Bank. They are the ones who source the donors and they will get the donors and match it to the... So even if I have a patient, I will send them to this bank.
Okay.
And the bank will match them, share profiles with them, and they say, okay, this is the donor that we want. So medical insurance is made for her and everything, and then
So
she's
earlier,
taken.
how did it happen before this?
Earlier there were the banks only, but they were not officially. People would sprout up and do it. But now the banks they need accreditation, they need a doctor, they need, certain things. It's become more
Does any
streamlined
kind of
with
scams,
SOPs.
any scams happen in donation?
I'm sure there are lots of scams which had happened earlier, and that's why the law came.
Are you aware of any?
I am not
Unofficially.
aware
No?
of it.
Okay. But how do you really judge the quality of the egg or the sperm when it comes through a donor? How do you measure that?
Okay. So my donors are all young. They're under 3 years of age. They already have one child. So you know that her eggs are good.
Huh. That's it.
And of course all the tests are done.
Yeah.
I mean genetic tests, blood tests, hemoglobin, all the infections, HIV and HBsAg, HCV, they're all checked.
Does genetics have a big role to play in infertility? Like, for example, if your past generations have faced this issue, will you also?
No, it all depends on what the genetics is. Yeah, genetics does have a role in infertility, but if family histories are like PCOS mothers have PCOS daughters generally. Endometriosis also is genetic to some extent. So there are a few things, but not everything.
Got it. Any exercises you recommend to your patient for
I definitely,
fertility?
as I said, I tell them to walk. I really tell them to walk.
Yeah.
Because see, if you can go to a gym and exercise, that's great.
Huh.
But if you can't, then please walk.
How long?
I told you, 150 minutes per week.
Acha, wo, yeah.
But
That's
that's for
good enough.
PCOS. But yeah, about half an hour, 45 minutes per day is good. And you take the weekends off.
Yeah. Got it. But does that help? People are like, yoga से भी बहुत फर्क पड़ता है.
No, any form of exercise is good.
हाँ.
I suggest yoga, Pilates, aerobics, whatever. You know, I like dancing also. I tell the girls, go do Zumba. You know, do Bollywood dancing because it's an exercise.
Yeah. Anything that keeps your body active.
Anything that burns your calories.
Yeah. Got it. And do you also want to talk about...
But yoga is good because of meditation.
Of course, yeah. Mental health से बाकी सारे problems होते हैं.
Sorry, you want to talk about what?
Medical tourism for IVF in India?
Yeah, we do get a lot of patients from abroad who come here for, you know, IVF and all. You know, in UK, the NHS waiting list is 3 years, 4 years. They come here, do the cases and go, take home a baby also at times.
The waiting cases are such long abroad.
Yeah. But in US, it is a lot of money. And unless your insurance is covering it, you know, the people prefer to come to India.
So you're seeing a lot of medical tourism grow for
We
IVF?
do see a fair amount of medical tourism.
Which country are you mostly seeing?
All over. Middle East, you know.
How is the cost different for the treatment here versus globally for IVF?
It's cheaper.
Like
I don't know how much cheaper.
Okay.
But it is cheaper.
Is it the cheapest or?
I think so. You can't compare us to Africa.
Yeah, of
so
course.
Yes, we are
But in Asia.
We are pretty decent.
Okay, got it. And I also want to, you know, mention about surrogacy. In what cases do your patients generally opt for surrogacy?
Okay, so I've had a couple of patients where, you know, they've had multiple abortions. The uterus just cannot maintain the pregnancy. Then those patients go. Then patients who've not conceived with IVF, you know, we've done 4 or 5 IVFs and still the patient hasn't conceived. Then yes, we do send them for surrogacy. Then I've had patients with lung heart transplant patients, you know, who can't carry the child. So then we do surrogacy for them. So these kind of patients are there. The first case which I did had a severe heart disease, pulmonary hypertension and all, and she could not carry the baby. So we did surrogacy for her.
And what complications do you commonly see in the surrogacy?
Surrogate is the easiest thing to do because she's a healthy woman. She's given birth to a child already. So it's really pretty straightforward.
Does that affect the child's birth in any way? Or it's the same as it would be otherwise?
See, surrogacy has been done in our country since 2004. I've delivered a lot of babies. Nothing much.
Do you recommend people to opt for surrogacy, especially
if they need it? In our country, you can't just get up and do surrogacy now. There's a law.
Yeah.
So you need an indication. And you need literally like 20 to 30 certificates from authorities before you can go in for surrogacy.
And how do you find a surrogate?
The ART banks.
Oh, वो भी banks के through.
They've specified it. For all third party, it's the bank.
Got it. And is there any difference between a child born naturally versus a child born through a frozen embryo?
So far, studies have been done on their mental health, you know, their intelligence and everything. No difference.
No difference. I think people will only opt for artificial womb then, going forward if it happens. Why would they want
all
to go
the
through
women
all the
would
pain?
want that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll look at it when it arrives.
Yeah. But right now the technology is only for 5 days, you said,
Yeah.
to grow outside.
Yeah.
And 15 is what we're aiming at.
No, 15 is what they're doing in the labs, research,
Okay.
research labs.
Got it. And what's the one thing that you wish people knew about infertility in India?
Uh, I think, girls should be aware that they should do this test AMH and should understand their window of fertility. I think it's very, very important. And also that IVF is not just for rich people.
Huh.
And it's not the last option.
Yeah.
If somebody advises you IVF, patients do come to me and say, oh, but then after that, if it doesn't work out, they think it's the last option. No, it's not. There are lots of therapies available, different ways in which we can do it. So just do it when your doctor tells you.
Yeah. I want you to tell me a story in this question as to what's the biggest myth that you've heard about infertility, IVF through one of your patients who came to you and like, aisa hai.
It is a big joke.
Yeah, tell
Actually,
me.
it's a joke more than a story. This young couple came to me and I saw the reports and all, and she had tuberculosis and both her tubes were blocked. So I said, you need a test tube baby. We talk in simple. This was long time ago. I mean, literally when I'd begun my practice.
Yeah.
So they looked at me very confused. Madam, test tube baby? I said, yeah, you will need a test tube baby. But madam, how will you put us in the test tube?
Oh shit.
So people are not aware of
Oh my
what
God.
is done. So I think it's very important to educate them, to tell them. And then a lot of times, like this couple came over, but we heard that the babies are not normal.
Huh.
They think, you asked me the same question. I think that's another question we always try to tell them, that no, the research has shown
Yeah.
that it is fine, and US FDA would have never approved the technology. See, we have a responsibility to the next generation. So
Yeah.
these technologies are very screened very intensively.
Yeah, I think all these biology textbooks should have more information on all of this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Because हमको बहुत बेसिक पढ़ाते हैं ऊपर
पढ़ाते
ऊपर
हैं।
से, तो थोड़ा आप लोग के जितना नॉलेज हमें भी होना चाहिए.
वो आप करो अभी आपके medium के through. I think
Yes.
that's very important. That's what. So the written work, the digital work. I think movies. I mean, there were 2 movies, Good News, Bad News.
Yeah.
So
And actually, it helped spread a lot of awareness,
Yes,
though.
yes,
In
yes.
such tier 3 cities and towns where
Yeah.
people were unaware of all of this.
absolutely.
And they made it in a very joking way.
No,
जैसे
it was light-hearted.
हाँ, मतलब they said openly कि लोग क्या सोचते हैं और क्या होता है.
Yeah.
And a lot of people these days are okay with the same-sex marriage and they want to have a child. So what are the fertility options that you
In
recommend
our country,
for them?
it's not permitted.
Not
It's
permitted.
illegal. So yes, a single girl can have a child.
हाँ,
She can't do a surrogacy.
okay.
And a single man is not allowed to go for IVF.
Oh.
So no surrogacy, nothing.
So,
See, it's not legally recognized, the marriage.
हाँ,
So how can you offer them treatment?
got it. But there
But
were,
not all countries also open to it.
हाँ, वही.
Because it's only United States. None of the countries like Ukraine and Georgia and all of them have rules against.
Oh,
See, because these are Catholic countries, no?
correct.
They don't do it.
Yeah.
Greece also, no single men. So America is the only choice.
Yeah. Are there any cases where you suggest couples to do adoption
Of course.
rather than take the
Of
treatment?
course,
What are
every
such
couple.
cases?
See, listen, once they've done 3-4 attempts, adoption is always thrown open to them.
Yeah.
And they can adopt even at the beginning. You don't have to go through IVF. If you
Yeah.
feel you don't want to do it, you can go for adoption. There's no problem. So adoption is always on the table.
The cycle is also very painful though, the IVF cycle. So, like, what's
The adoption cycle is worse.
that? Yeah. Why do you say that?
It takes 3-4 years for you to get a baby.
3-4
And
years.
today, trust me now, not just because I'm an IVF specialist, but the injections have become like as thin as hair. You know, Ozempic everybody is taking, right, to lose weight. The injection is like that. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And oral medications and sonographies. We don't keep doing blood tests, which we were doing before. So it's become very patient friendly. It's the mental health, you know, the stress of going through it and then, you know, waiting for the result.
Yeah.
See, I think that is very this. So I've started an app where one of my patients who had 2 babies from me, she said, you know, she and me got together and have created this meditation, this manifestation, and all those things.
Oh,
So
what's
I
it
think-
called?
I don't know what it's called.
The app.
I don't know.
You should tell us, yeah.
I know.
But this app is very nice. When did you create it?
We just started it a month ago.
Oh, recent.
Very recent, very recent.
Okay. But I want to know, is there any pain associated with IVF that nobody talks about or knows, but should know?
Actually, no, I think it's more of counseling, mental health, which takes away the pain. See, anything, if you know that it's hurting you and you're told about it, you're talked about it, I think you understand it, you bear it better. So there's no pain as such. I personally feel it's the pain of, you know, not having a child.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
the
the
biggest
pain.
emotional cost.
That is the pain.
Got it.
So, you know, like I have a semen bank. I used to have. Now, because the ART banks have come, they've all shifted there.
Okay.
So, literally what I told you, that ATM, one person had deposited his sample and he said, you know, can I come and get it in the night?
Get what?
The sample. So I said, we are not a bank which has an ATM. Anytime you come and take it. So it was very funny. They thought it's a bank, you know, so all these facilities should be available. I said, sorry. And one person, I was going to Pune, I still remember, I was giving a lecture and we were in the train, you know, we were traveling by train that time for a long time ago. So I said, I have a semen bank and all that. They said, what's the interest rate in your... And I must tell you, this is what my son did. He must be what, 6, 7 years old, and they were my friend's house. All kids were sitting and chatting, and you know, suddenly, what does your mother do? What does your father do? This way. So my son tells, my mother deals in sperms.
Damn funny, huh?
So I mean, can you imagine? He picked that up. Maybe 8, 9 years old. I don't even remember how old he was.
And now he's an IVF specialist.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you make him?
I told you, no, first he used to say how much you're studying. Then one day, you know, in those days we were not techno savvy so much. No? And those big cameras, video cams had come. And I give a lot of lectures and talks and all that. So I wanted shooting of all the processes so that I can show them when I'm talking.
Yeah.
So he came into the lab to do shooting. I made him bunk school. He was in Bombay Scottish. I made him bunk school. And he came into the lab. And then he was filming, you know, the different thing. That fascinated him so much. And I had a very good embryologist who was telling him how the process is. See, he had only read about it in biology, eggs and sperm. Then he was actually seeing them. Finished.
Khata.
That day he decided that he wanted...
He sealed the deal for his career.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it was really very interesting because my husband's a businessman. So my son had said, I'm going to business. I'm not studying like you.
Yeah.
But that just changed everything. He got so fascinated. You know. But that's important because then that creates a passion in you.
Yeah. So he works with you now separately?
Yeah. He works with me. But of course he's handling his own units. I run 11 youth centers all over the country.
Okay. Under the name of?
Bloom IVF.
So that's like... And do you give out franchises or no?
We are doing a few.
Okay.
But it's not, you know, like a really professional level yet. We've tied up with, see what happens in our field, our doctors know us and all. So they tie up with us. But it's nothing like, we need to get it SOP'd.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you should expand like Metropolis. I interviewed Amira recently.
Yeah.
She told me how she just grew uska father ka ek building ka business into so many footprints.
Yeah.
And it's become so big now.
So maybe my son will do it.
Yeah, we have to make Bloom IVF very big.
Yeah.
IPO tak. We'll discuss about it separately and how we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the process of egg freezing? For example, a girl in her late 20s wants to get her eggs freezed. How should she go about the approach?
Okay, so usually the girl comes to me, I investigate her, just do the general liver, kidney, all those, and AMH. Okay, and a sonography. Then when she gets her period, on day 2 we start injections. It's the same process like an IVF. We start the injections and we watch the growth of these eggs with ultrasound. Usually it's a transvaginal ultrasound, but we can even do it abdominally. So we check everything is okay. Then when the eggs are ready, say there are 10 to 15 eggs which we can see, which are, more than about 16 millimeters in diameter. So then we give a trigger. Now this trigger is very important because it matures the eggs. Then when the trigger is given, 34 hours later, we go in with a needle and we remove the eggs, as I told you. This is a process under general anesthesia and it's done in the hospital. Once we remove all the eggs, they are now taken to the laboratory. For 2-3 hours, we just incubate them in the incubators. We don't touch them. After 3 hours, we start, dissecting them. So then the mature ones, M2 we call them, are frozen. But today I'm freezing anything that I get, even the GVs which are immature, M1 which is immature, I freeze them. Because I'm sure, like we have a technology in vitro maturation, meaning outside the body maturation. So we can mature them outside the body, and if we get even one egg, that's a boon.
Yeah, but how many?
And a lot of patients of cancer also have frozen. See what happens in cancer patients, breast cancer especially, or any other cancers. They have to take radiotherapy, they have to take chemotherapy. Now that damages the ovary. So you can freeze your fertility before going in for these therapies. So egg freezing actually was started for cancer patients, and then its application started coming for social reasons or for, other reasons.
Got it. But how many eggs do you generally freeze at one time?
How many ever the girl gives me. Like the other day she gave me 21 eggs, I froze all of them.
Okay. And then it's depending on her decision when she wants to get that back and then. And how much does egg freezing cost?
About, again, 1 to 2 lakhs depending on that.
And it's a one-time process?
It's a one-time process, but you have to maintain those eggs, no? So there's a cost per year.
Oh, and what's that cost like?
About 30 to 50,000.
Got it. Just yesterday I was talking to a company and they were telling me that for their employees they have insurance on IVF treatments and egg freezing. Yeah.
Wow. Which company is this?
It's called TIAA. It's a US based big
so
fund.
Facebook, Apple.
Yeah.
Give money to the girls to go freeze the eggs.
Yeah. Actually, they do.
Yeah.
And it's a very good change that has come in. A lot of people should do it. Hai na?
We don't have insurance for IVF in our country, so egg freezing is far away.
Why don't we have insurance for IVF in India?
It'll come. Now, because of the law, the government is working to push the people to get insured.
It's not a big of a issue for them, is it?
I don't know. I don't know how this finance things work. You'd be the one to tell me.
Maybe India में इतना population ज़्यादा हो गया है. They just don't want only people to have kids. Maybe that's why they're not bringing about the law. That's quite a controversial topic though. So we'll stay away from that. Yeah. But a lot of people think that how do celebrities conceive in their early 40s or late 30s? You worked with so many celebrity clients like Ekta Kapoor. So,
she froze her eggs.
exactly.
So
She's
a lot
open
of
about
them
it.
freeze eggs and they don't talk about it. A lot of them talk about it, like Ekta and Diana talked about it. But a lot of them also go for egg donation, which they don't talk about.
Yeah. But why do you think people don't talk about all of this?
They don't want to say that it's not their genetic material.
Yeah, could be.
Probably
you?
they don't want to tell the kid also.
Yeah. Did you see the show The Royals on Netflix?
I haven't seen it.
You
because
must.
somebody told me it's not good. So is it good?
It's good. I तो liked it.
You liked it?
Yeah.
But I will see it.
See it. उसमें होता है ऐसा कुछ.
अच्छा.
हाँ, सस्पेंस में बताना नहीं चाहती
नहीं मत बताओ, मुझे देखना है.
नहीं तो पूरा शो मजा नहीं आएगा आपको.
Yeah.
पर उसमें ऐसा रिलेटेड है, genetics
Okay.
related. So, coming on your personal life journey, you are daughter of the D.Y. Patil. Everybody knows him, at least in Maharashtra. Did you ever have this pressure of being successful because you were daughter of D.Y. Patil and because people had high expectations from you?
That's a really good question. One thing, growing up with him was very easy. He never put pressure on you. He was he himself was very humble. If anybody asked him, what do you do? I'm a farmer. That kind of a thing. So, and I've probably met so many people, and so many great people. I've had tea with the president, met the prime ministers and all through him. So, one thing I realized was that success comes and goes. But if you're good-hearted, good at your work, you work, hard work, nobody can take that away from you. And that's what was with my father. So there was never any pressure. He was very, but he was very intelligent. He just handed over the responsibilities, without you realizing it that you're doing so much. So also to do that is difficult. See, a person in power does not like to hand over his power to others.
Correct.
But he did it so beautifully with his children that we didn't even realize that at which point we got embroiled in it and we were already performing. So yeah, in a way that was great. But there was never any pressure. But yes, I feel we were a different generation. The pressures on kids today.
It's a lot more.
It's a lot more. We were very bindas. I don't think we were even aware of kitna bada hai, kya hai, It was flowing. But if you look at it, that ambitious gene is there. I mean, I'm not disclosing my age. I should be retiring. But I am at this point in life where I want to do more. I want to open a new center. I want to do this. I want to do that. So it's like crazy. It's. I feel that's the legacy you get from your family. That you see everybody working very hard. My father changed his profession at the age of 50 and started the educational institutes at 50. So what am I? Not a big deal. I can also do something different, something more at that. So age is not a number, and that is what my father told me once. He said, I came back home once. I was very tired. I said, I'm so fed up. I'm so bored. Whole day I've been working. So he looked at me and he said, do you love your work? I looked at him in surprise. I said, what? Of course I love my work. Then he's saying, remember one thing. If you love your work, you can never be tired, bored or fed up with it. It should energize you to do more. And that, it's a concept. It completely changed my mindset. And believe me, anybody and everybody who, if you meet them and ask them, what's Nandita? Oh, energy levels are boundless. I never say I'm tired. So I think that is something.
So that day, why did you feel so tired?
Which day? I don't know. That day I had worked the whole day. See, my mind was... It changed my mind. No, it was not occupied. I had to change my thinking.
Oh.
That, okay, I am doing what I love. Why should I be tired?
Correct.
It's a mindset which got a switch, which my father pulled the switch. He said, you are doing something which you love. You can't get tired. So it's being tired is mental, I feel.
Yeah, it is. But did he like inspire you to get into the field of medicine? How did you choose that?
You know what? He was always a person who was building institutes and he wanted them to help people. You know, he wanted it to be useful to the people. And that kind of that empathy, that, you know, the kindness which he had. I also wanted to do something in my life which I would be able to help people. And that's how I got into medicine. That, come on, I want to be there and be able to help people. And IVF was purely this instinct also that, you know, I had an OPD in JJ hospital. I was studying that time. And half the people used to come and say that, oh, bachcha nahi hota, and they were so disturbed over it. And half of them would come and say, हमको बच्चा नहीं मांगता है ये, the unwanted pregnancies. Just to feel इधर से डाल के इधर दे दो. And that's when I decided that I want to go into this field. So I think, you know, when you give a baby to somebody, you give that family a life. So I think that thought process of giving was instilled, and I think I'm loving it.
So, like, the difference between gynecologists and what you do, it's very different, or?
Yeah.
So why didn't you choose gynecology?
Because you have to do gynecology to do this.
Acha, so you've done that as well?
Yeah. I am a surgeon. And I super specialized.
Oh.
So you have to have a basic degree of gynecology and obstetrics. And then you can super specialize into IVF, you can super specialize into endoscopy, you can super specialize into cancer surgery for women.
Oh.
So we need to have one, it's a basic degree, but actually it's a postgraduate degree.
Yeah. And where did you do this from?
JJ Hospital.
Okay. You're postgraduate.
Grand Medical College. And I was just given the honorary, you know, there's a Royal College of OBGYN in England. Which everybody goes there to give exams, a lot of doctors give exams and all. And I was given an honorary fellowship in 2021.
Nice.
Based on the work that I've done in the field.
What kind of research have you carried out already in this field?
I think it's mainly related to IVF, also related to, you know, anemia in our country. You know, how pregnancy, lot of things. Because being as a policy maker, I'm there in a lot of things.
Okay.
So I'm lucky.
Yeah, you worked hard for
I love my IVF, but I have a wider vision also.
Yeah. Your vision is to make Bloom famous now?
My vision is actually to see that every district in India has IVF and make it affordable, and see that no patient remains childless.
Yeah.
I think that's a much broader vision which I have.
Very interesting. But currently you're at 11 centers, no? You said. And who manages this business part of it for Bloom?
We are partners. We are both doctors.
Okay.
And we, of course, have a CEO and all this. We have people.
Okay, nice. We'll chat about that for
Yeah.
sure. I'm very interested
Intrigued.
to know about it. Yeah. Got it. And you know, I also want to ask you about this thing about how does a good family ecosystem help you chase what you want? Like, because
I think
you
it's very
could do
important.
what you wanted.
Yeah.
Unlike some people who come from a successful lineage and they want their fathers, mothers want them to pursue that only.
Yeah. Yeah, that is also important, you know. I think it is important to give freedom to your children. Guide them subtly. I'm not saying don't guide them, because at 17, 18, you're too young to know what you really want. And in India, unfortunately, that is the age when you have to actually select your, you know, profession.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you as a role model, you as a this. So something definitely works in that. Like as I told you, my son loved the lab, and I've never forced him to take anything. Even when he finished his MBBS, he loved orthopedics and he loved gynecology. I never pushed him anywhere. I said,
Yeah.
wherever you go, I will help you out. There's no question of that. But then he veered towards gynecology because he probably liked what I was doing. And the love that I got,
Yeah.
the respect which I got
Ah.
in the fraternity. So actually, he went towards it. So I think, you know what, you have to give your children freedom. And also not be insecure about them. I mean,
Yeah.
see, he is the Gen next. He is the new Gen. He has more innovations, but I have the wisdom. So,
Yeah.
wisdom plus innovation is what we offer the patient. So, you have to think broad. You have to think big. You
Yeah.
can't, like I always say, when a person is like my father was a huge, like a banyan tree, huge, but he did not stunt us.
Ah.
All of us siblings have done beautifully well. We are excelling in our fields, and that's what it is, and that's what I've given my son. I've given him the space to grow.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important.
And lastly, I want to ask, what is it that you'd like to tell everyone with respect to their journeys in parenting? And yeah, because since you reel into this industry, you come across so many people of different mindsets and beliefs. So for someone who's really stuck in life on this, whether to have a child or know how to do it, what is the general piece of thought that you'd like to leave them with?
You won't believe it. Just 2 weeks ago, a couple came to me. They said, we are not sure whether we want to have a child or not. I said, okay, why are you here?
Exactly.
In my mind. So then they said, but we want to freeze our embryos. But the girl said, if I turn 40 and I feel I want to have a child and I can't have, so I'm coming and freezing my embryos. So I think my advice to people is have a child if you want one soon. But if you really are not sure, or if you want to delay, today technology is there to help you. Use that technology. Don't we use our chat GPTs and we use all the technology on our phones and everything. So
course.
use the technology. It's there for you.
Yeah.
And read about it, become aware about it, find out information about it. I mean, all of us are willing to talk about it. So I think it's very important for
Yeah.
young couples out there.
But for those who cannot afford this, and like you said, you do a lot of philanthropy as well. So can you talk a little bit before we end about that initiative of yours also, as to what charity are you doing in this space?
So, okay, we have our organization, Indian Society of Assisted Reproduction. Then we have the center at DY Patil. So, all these places, and we have another chain which is Venus IVF, which is a budget chain. So, which is started by my son. And these are all the places where you can get help and do it at a much lower cost. And also, there are certain EMI schemes and all.
Okay.
Which are available and all that. Financial help is available and all that. So there are multiple things which are going on.
Do you all also give treatments on EMIs?
I don't like it personally.
No?
Because I'll tell you what, I do a treatment, say I do it for 10 people, say 5 conceive, 5 don't. 5 are still paying that EMI over a negative cycle.
Yeah.
It's traumatic. That's what I think.
But they still have to anyways pay, no, for your treatment.
No, but if it's come negative and they're still paying the cost of that cycle,
Huh.
it's difficult. It's difficult, I feel, mentally.
But those Venus IVF and all they offer?
No, I mean, we do offer. It's not that I don't. If a patient comes, of course, I will do it.
Yeah. Depends on what.
But there are
the-
financial organizations which offer these EMI. Not we.
Okay.
It's
yeah,
a third
yeah.
party.
You know any such?
I would have them in my clinic,
Yeah. Okay.
the numbers and all.
Got it. Interesting. Because I don't think so a lot of people can afford it who actually face this issue.
You know, there is, luckily, our country is very good. There is every space for everybody. So, yes, we have hospitals which are doing it, like AIMS. You know, we have AFMC, which does it free for the soldiers.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's
Okay.
completely free for the Army and the Navy. So, there are always options available.
Nice. And you also want to talk about your policy making that you do with the government on
Yeah,
what
I'm on
new
different
initiatives?
committees and all that, and you know, there are different problems. Like there was a problem, you know, like women are dying. You know, maternal mortality. We want to reduce it. So how do we do it? So we have gone into tribal villages like Khargon, and you know. Nandurbar and all those places where we've actually gone through the NGOs to distribute a medicine which prevents blood loss after delivery. Because a lot of these women don't deliver in the hospitals. So all these things, that is one. The second thing is, as I told you, prevention of hysterectomy. Then I was on the PCP&DT committee also, you know, sex detection. So worked a lot on.
Some campaigns, tell me now which you did. It's very interesting how
This
you
is
did it.
PPH Ampli campaign which we're doing. It's a world campaign where we are going to Nandurbar, Khargon, and we are, you know, giving them medications and teaching those doctors, teaching those ashas, teaching those lower level people how to control that. So it's known as PPH Ampli.
Okay.
Then there's another campaign called LDI. Leadership Development Initiative, but again, which is again aimed on reducing the maternal mortality. So these are the things.
Very cool, yeah. If you have pictures of this, share. We'll put it. But anyways, thank you so much, Nandita, for being on the show. You've covered everything and given us your time for free. You know, I know doctors and lawyers are the ones who really charge for their time. And
I don't think doctors. You stick to lawyers. Doctors do a lot of free work. Doctors do a lot of free work.
Really?
Yeah. Lots. Come on, yeah. If a patient walks into my clinic and says, I don't have money, am I going to say no? I don't. And believe me, most of the doctors don't.
Yeah?
Yeah. Really.
Okay. Hoping somebody will come to you.
No problem. No problem.
After watching this.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and didn't even realize how time just flew by.
I know.